Please start, sir.
Start. Okay, dear listener, अभी तो 7 लोग आए हैं सर.
Start कर ले से कोई बात आते रहेंगे.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, welcome back. Good afternoon, Rashmi ji. Good afternoon.
Sir.
Your network is very poor and voice is breaking, like yesterday. Anyway, I'm starting the topic.
Sir, am I audible to this? And
I'm going to start paper 3, CFT 03. Is it PGDCFT or MSCCFT, whatever? CFT 03, I'm going to start counseling and family therapy. So, all you welcome to this session. And counseling and family therapy, all you know, counseling in everyday life, we are busy in the changing world. And in this world, people experience many difficult situations. Situations difficult may be related to self, related to others. Most of the time we get on with life, but sometimes, and most of the time even, rather I should say sometime or most of the time, we get on with life, but sometimes we are disturbed by an event of our situation, and our resources fail to sort out the problem. Most of the time we find the solution with the help of ourselves or the society, friends, family, but sometimes we may not. When we don't found any solution, or when we found any solution for the problem of our daily life, because the contemporary world is a changing world, and change is the nature of law, right? Change in your body, change in your self-perception, change in your attitude, change in your learning, change in your family, change in environment, change in society, everywhere, right? So how we are to cope up? Like you take the example of Corona. This is changing world. The complete world is changing. Complete world is changing, and still we are facing a problem. So in that era of this changing world, like in Corona 2019, maximum people have started to give telecounseling. That is a telemental health support. Telecounseling is a new concept for India. Still, it is not been started. And right now, we people are so back behind that just recently, some of the hospitals have started telemedicines only. We don't have any telecounseling. But still, people, psychology people, psychiatrist people, they have tried to provide telecounseling and they succeeded even that one. So when we have a crisis, whenever we have a difficult time in our day-to-day life or in our surrounding or about myself, so what we do there, right? So counseling, I'm telling you, many times we can sort out the problem at our level with the help of others, but when we fail at personal level and the others level, societal level, then what we do? We usually try to go for counseling, and occasionally the advice become insufficient, or we are too embarrassed or ashamed that appropriate person to turn on. Means when we people are unable to decide the solution, so we become totally embarrassed. And counseling is useful opinion in which counseling is initiated when the person faces a problem. Until or unless the problem don't have any problem, so we cannot go for counseling. Like you take this right now, we are having a counseling session. Actually, this is not a teaching. This is a counseling session. Rather, we converted this one as a teaching only. Rather, it must be as per counseling session as per the rules of the or the norms of the IGNU. Counseling session means the learner might having a lot of difficulties. जैसे कल हमारे तेजपाल सर ने भी कहा था पढ़ के आना और डिफिकल्टीज नोट करके आना, लेकिन यू कम टोटली ब्लाइंड, blank, and you never studied, you don't have noticed any problem, just we people are forced to teach you not to give the counseling. Counseling means when the person is having a problem, then there is a one expert person, he or she is to give the counseling to sort out the solution of the problem, right? So it is also a social institution, that is a culture of modern industrialization societies. It is an occupation, discipline, or profession for some people. Counseling is an institution. This is an organization, like a hospital, right? Similarly, counseling is an institution, or some for some people it can be occupation, it can be discipline, or it can be a profession even to some level. So, what are the objectives of counseling? So, the first objective of counseling is understand the basic concepts related to counseling. One must, you are going to be counselor. You must understand the basic concepts of counseling. What counseling is. The layman example of counseling is, previously I also referred, again I am repeating the same one, that the layman example of the counseling is the Gita Updesh, Mahabharata Gita Updesh. That was the first counseling given by Lord Krishna. So you must understand the concepts related to counseling. Second objective is differentiate between counseling and psychotherapy and family therapy. Counseling is one thing, psychotherapy is another thing, and family therapy is separate one. You must differentiate. You cannot mix up. No doubt they may be overlapping, they may be integrated, they may be interrelated, but you cannot overlap, right? So the literally meaning of these, all these three are different, right? So just in nutshell, I'm telling you, counseling is for a daily life problem, right? Adjustmental behavioral problems or the adjustmental disorder problem, right? Career counseling, for example, marital counseling, for example. The people go for counseling for daily life problems to sort out. Psychotherapy, psychotherapy is go for more detailed concepts of psychological treatment, and psychotherapy is specifically suited to the psychological disorders, right? So this is not for daily life disorder psychotherapy. Then if we have a daily life disorders, we go for counselor, and if we have a psychological disorders, then we go for the psychologist for psychotherapy. And family therapy within one unit of society, that is called family. Counseling can be for individual, psychotherapy can be for individual, but family therapy cannot be for individual. It is for a family, right? So this is a small difference between counseling, psychotherapy, and family therapy. Hopefully you understand that one. The next objective, understand the principles of counseling. Then identify the various approaches to the counseling. Lot of approaches are there. Psychodynamic approach is there, right? Client-centered approach is there. Lot of. So you must understand different types of approaches of counseling. The next objective is describe effective counseling technique. In India, we have a problem that everyone is claiming that I am a counselor. You go in MNCs, multinational companies, and in reception there is one counselor is sitting. They designated him or her as a counselor. He or she is not a counselor. He or she is a receptionist, right? We must know the techniques of counseling. Anyone can be a counselor, but anyone cannot be a psychotherapist. There is a difference again, I'm telling you, between counseling and psychotherapy. Parents can be a good counselor, but they cannot be a good psychotherapist, right? So then, concept of counseling. You must understand the concept of counseling. The term counseling includes the work with individuals and with the relationship that may be developmental, crisis support, psychotherapeutic, guided, guiding, or problem solving. So this counseling can be related to work, can be related to individual, can be related to relationship, that may be developmental, crisis support, psychotherapeutic problem, guiding or problem solving. If one person is having a one problem, so for solution of that problem, you have to go for the counselor. It may be practiced within a counseling or other professional work setting, or in private practice on a paid or voluntary basis. You can start at your own level as a counselor, as a private practitioner, or you can start as a company. लाइक जैसे एमबीबीएस के एक डॉक्टरों का एक पैनल होता है एक हॉस्पिटल में, ऑन कॉल वो लोग आते हैं। इसी तरह सीए जो होते हैं चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, उनका एक पैनल होता है, राइट। सो ऐसे एडवोकेट्स का एक पैनल होता है, बड़े बड़े कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में एडवोकेट पैनल पे होते हैं, लाइक स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया फॉर एग्जाम्पल। सो ऐसे ही आप लोग एक काउंसलिंग की कंपनी बना सकते हैं आप लोग, एंड थ्रू दैट कंपनी यू कैन बी ऑनलाइन counseling can provide and for in-person counseling can provide, but that company is not an individual, that is a group of counselors working together, right? Somebody need a female counselor, somebody need a male counselor, somebody need a educational career counselor specialist, right? जैसे मेडिकल में है ना, आई का अलग डॉक्टर है, ऑर्थो का अलग डॉक्टर है, साइकोलॉजी में भी अलग अलग फील्ड के होने चाहिए, कुछ हैं या होने चाहिए। The task of counseling is to give the client an opportunity to explore. Counseling means the client is having a capacity to solve the problem, but he is lacking a knowledge. Is the capacity. For example, मैं एक उदाहरण देता हूं। एक बंदा गिरा हुआ है, जमीन पे गिर गया, उसको हाथ पकड़ के उठाएंगे, यू आर गिविंग ए सपोर्ट। काउंसलिंग भी सपोर्ट करना, राइट। एक बंदा जमीन पे गिरा हुआ, आप उसको हेल्प करना चाह रहे हैं, राइट। एक बंदे ने उसको हाथ पकड़ के उठाया, दैट इज नॉट ए काउंसलिंग, राइट। यू मोटिवेट हिम टू गेट अप हिमसेल्फ और हरसेल्फ, दैट इज ए काउंसलिंग, राइट। सो दैट डज नॉट मीन टू एक्सटेंड द हेल्प, फिजिकल हेल्प, मॉनिटरी हेल्प, दैट इज नॉट ए काउंसलिंग, राइट। कई बार कोई भिखारी आपके पास आता है और वो हटा कटा होता है, जवान होता है, आप कहते तेरे को शर्म नहीं आती, भीख मांग रहा, जाके हटा कटा कमा के खा, तेरे को ये वो, यू मोटिवेट हिम, right? So that is not a help, that is a counseling. So that is client to explore the opportunity or discover and clarify the ways of living more satisfying and respectful life. He or she should discover or clarify the different ways, different opportunities to living a satisfied and happy life. Maintaining good standards of counseling involves continuous self-monitoring, self-development, and the part of the counselor. Self-monitoring and self-development on the part of the counselor. This is the basically good standard of counseling is to be retained with the help of the counselor by maintaining self-monitoring and maintaining self-development. क्लाइंट तो टोटली डायरेक्शन लेस है ना, क्लाइंट को डायरेक्शन ही देनी है आपने। बीइंग ए काउंसलर यू हैव टू गिव द डायरेक्शन। लाइक एक बच्चे ने मैट्रिक कर लिया, उसको कुछ नहीं पता कहाँ जाना, काउंसलर इज टू गिव द डायरेक्शन which is the right directions according to his personality or behavior, right? So when client become directionless, then the counselors help the client to explore the opportunities, to discover and to clarify the possible ways out of the problem he or she is facing. And the counselors can play a vital role, important role to retain the standard of counseling by self-monitoring and by self-development. So counseling is a goal-oriented process. It is a goal-oriented process. Every counseling has a specific goal, right? मैट्रिक बच्चे ने पास किया तो काउंसलिंग क्या आपका गोल है, बच्चे को डॉक्टर बनाना, you give the counseling. Engineer banana, you give the counseling according, motivate him, right? So counseling is a goal oriented, which emphasizes a comparative role relationship between provider and recipient. This is the relationship. Counseling is goal oriented, which usually focused on the relationship of provider and the recipient. There are two people. Provider is a counselor, recipient is a counselee, the client. So there is a relationship between these two, and adequate relations, good relations will give you a good counseling. So when counseling, the provider applies his or her experiences to benefit each recipient. Provider is a knowledgeable, experienced one. He or she applies his experiences to benefit the client or the recipient, directing them to use information in a way that serves best everyday life. And in short, it is a process of helping someone to recognize, face, accept, and resolve the problem. To recognize the face, that means recognize your strength, right? And accept and resolve the problem. You accept your strengths and weaknesses, and accordingly, you resolve the problem. So, this is called counseling. The term counseling is a wide array of activities. Varieties of activities included in counseling. For example, assessment of knowledge and motivation, right? Providing information, modifying inappropriate behavior, reinforcing desired behavior, and monitoring long-term progresses. So counseling is a multiple level of activities involved. Counselor is having multitask performer. So I told you that modifying inappropriate behavior. Alcoholic, for example, is an inappropriate behavior. Drug abuse is having inappropriate behavior. You have to modify that one. Reinforcing desired behavior. Desired behavior. एक बच्चा क्लास में टॉप कर गया, right? You give the incentive, motivate him, desired behavior को reinforcement दो. That is a counseling. He further motivate to excel further. Monitoring long-term progresses. Long-term progresses, when counseling does not mean in one sitting you can give the counseling and go. Counseling requires or needs multiple sessions there, long term. It can be 1 month, it can be 2 months. It depends on the problem, degree, nature, and the type of problem. Accordingly, you have to fix up the sessions. If it is a severe problem, you have to take more long sessions. Then this year, long-term counseling sessions will be there. Counseling is a form of psychotherapy. I told you, both are interchangeable, overlapping, but literally there is a difference between these two. Technically, they are separate, but psychologically or professionally, if we discuss, counseling and psychotherapy both are internally connected. Usually, for belief in the length of time to assist people who are experiencing problems in various areas, including relationship problems, academic or school related problems, depression, anxiety, trauma, issues for the past that negatively affect person's daily functioning. So these are the area in which counseling can be helpful. So individual versus family counseling. So individual versus family counseling, you know better what is individual. One individual affected, and when a family counseling, the complete family is affected. You take one example of alcoholic. When alcoholics start to take alcohol, there will be an individual is to be affected by alcohol only at the initial level. When he become addicted, the complete family is to be affected by the alcohol. Individual initial level affected, and when he or she become addicted, then the complete family is to be affected by the alcohol. Then there is a need of family counseling. Initially, when is he or she started to take alcohol, then there is only a need of individual counseling. No family counseling is to be needed there. But when it reach up to the optimum level, so then we need the family counseling. Family counseling is an umbrella for a number of therapeutic approaches. Right? According to Burke, B-U-R-K, 1989, it is an artful application of scientifically desired psychological knowledge. It is an artful application of scientifically derived psychological knowledge and techniques for the purpose of changing human behavior. So, psychotherapy, counseling, both having a sole purpose, sole aim is to change, modify the behavior of a client or the individual. So, In simple words, family counseling can be understood as under family counseling is an effective way to help family members understand problems and make positive change in their life. In family counseling, the complete family decides to work through the relationship to improve the communication. The family look at how to solve a problem or adjust to a new situation. Family counseling also includes marital counseling. Then it may include or be followed by couple therapy. Marital counseling, there is a couple therapy. The extension of family counseling may be further to religious communities or other groups that resembles families such as couple cohabiting together or in law in live-in relationship or relationship prior to marriage, for example. This is the further extension of your family counseling. Family counseling, when there is a unit of one family, right? Then if we there is an extension of family counseling therapy, family therapy, that further it can go for couple cohabiting, then live-in relationship and relationship prior to the marriage. They also need the counseling. The usual types of problem deal with relationships problem, including separation, divorce, family of origin issues, parenting skills, parent-child conflict, and other abuse. So counseling and psychotherapy, I'm telling you, I told you the difference between counseling and psychotherapy. So I'm not discussing that one. Counseling is usually for adjustmental disorders. Psychotherapy is for your psychological disorder. Very layman example I told you to simplify the difference between these two. Otherwise, there are a lot of differences. Many differences are there. Point wise, we can discuss, but there is the gist, the crux of the difference between these two. I told you that adjustmental or the societal problem, education problem, adjustmental problem is to be handled, tackled by counselors, and psychological disorders, mental disorders are to be taken care by the psychotherapist. The key principles of counseling. Counseling is a cooperative in nature, which is usually a two-way process. It's not a one-way, it's a two-way. They requires active participation from both sides, counselor and the client or counselor. Both activation of both levels should be there. एक भी इनके inactive होगा तो counseling cannot be go for right direction. Counseling is a goal directed, goal directed, client to find a solution to an identified problem. Client is well known about the problem. Alcoholic is well known about the problem that I am alcoholic. This is the identified problem for the alcoholic. But he is unable to leave the alcohol. He needs some assistance, right? So the counselee or the client to find out the solutions to the identified problem. Alcoholic is identified problem. Now with the help of the counselor, the client is to identify the possible solutions to leave alcohol. Counseling is usually client-centered. Client-centered in a counseling, client is the main target. Steps in counseling, number one, assess. That is assessment. Client, first of all, for the assessment, the counselors collect, select, analyze the information. Collect the information about the alcohol, for example. Alcoholic came to you for a counseling. The counselor first collects information about the alcoholism. Then select which is relevant, which is irrelevant, which is important, which is not important. Then after selection of the factors collected through the client, the counselor is to analyze, and accordingly, the counselors go further for the treatment, and the information is to be given, to be shared by only client, not the counselor. Source of information is the client. For example, go to the doctor, physician के पास आप गए, physician सबसे पहले पूछेगा हाँ बताइए क्या problem आपको. You want to explain. Until you will not explain, the physician will not give any remedy, any medicine, any treatment. So similarly, the client first to explain, and through his or her explanation, counselor will collect, select, and analyze the situation. Next is advice. Second step is to do the advice. It is not practical as also feasible to take on too many targets simultaneously. Generally, counseling is more effective when the client himself herself select the target behavior. क्लाइंट जब अपना आपको बिहेवियर टारगेट कर देता है कि मैंने आज शराब पी ली, आज के बाद शराब नहीं पीनी है, that is a targeted behavior, then it will be more fruitful, more meaningful. Until or unless client will not set any target to sort out the problem will never be rooted out, right? So the target fixation to be done by your client. The next is agree. The third step is to agree that the counselor has the responsibility for the proper assessment of the problem, for the formulation of the target, and for the suitability of the suggested management. Agree, both client and the counselors should be agree. Suppose client went to the counselor said, I will charge 2000 rupees per hour, right? There is a terms and conditions from the both side. You have to come daily for one hour, you have to come for alternate days for 1 hour, you are come for 3 days in a week for 1 hour. I'll charge 2000 every visit, for example. Agree means there will be an agreement between counselor and the client. Both are to become agree. Yes, I will come at this time, I will pay this fees, I will cooperate you. Then a client will make the agreement. Yes, I will help you this, like. So automatically, according to this, further the next step is assist. When there is an agreement, the counselor start to assist the client to identify, to focus the target, to identify the problem, and then finally arrange. The arrange, that means to achieve the goal. Arrangement of the achievement of the goal. Counseling required that the action taken undergo continuous monitoring changes. Right? So what are the key factors for success in counseling? There are various key factors. Number one, willingness, motivation, and commitment and faith. These are the four key factors for the success of counseling, and this is given by CATSE 2019, KERSEY 2009. That means willingness, motivation, commitment, and faith. These are the four factors for the success of counseling. Now, models of counseling. Humanistic approach. Humanistic approach to therapy emphasize the importance of being aware of one's own emotions and feeling, free to express them. That is humanistic approach. One must be aware about his own emotions and feelings, and he or she is to free to express. In humanistic counseling, the therapy focus on discovery of the emotions and personal goals. In your humanistic counseling, the source of the problem is identified, which is blocking the full development due to restricted growth potential. Humanistic counseling or humanistic approach, humanistic model try to identify the blocking of the full development due to restricted growth potential. Why the complete growth is not to be taken place there? The root cause, the problems, the reasons, the causes are to be found out by the counselor. Why a student is not performing well in the class? This is to be found out by the parents as a counselor or the counselor as a professional, right? And then the source of the problem is to identify it, followed by the technique in therapy used are conversation, largely guided by the client. Counseling, there will be a conversation only. Counseling is a talk therapy only, and talk and the conversation is to be guided by the client. Whatever the information is to be given by client, accordingly, the psychiatrist or psychologist or psychotherapist or the counselor will go further. The complete conversation is to be guided by your client. types of humanistic approach. There's a person-centered approach, gestalt therapy approach, existential therapy approach. I'm not going in detail. Now I'm going to cognitive behavior therapy. Initially there was a behavior therapy, then cognitive behavior therapy. Only behavior modification will not work in many psychological disorders or adjustmental disorders, right? So then psychologists tried the integration of cognitive and behavior both. So then this is called cognitive behavior therapy. It is based on the notions that maladaptive behaviors or the bad behavior, abnormal behavior, or the results of skill deficit. Alcoholic having a maladaptive behavior, he is a skill deficit, that means he is unable to cope up the alcohol urge, right? And the thought that cause feeling and behavior. Feeling and behavior further helps you. If you are a skill deficit, your feeling and your behavior further help you to become alcoholic. If you have full skill, your behavior and your feeling will help you not to be alcoholic. It is also based on the assumptions that most emotional behavioral reactions are learned. Cognitive behavior therapy usually focusing that most of the emotional and behavioral problems are learned, are acquired. Emotional and behavioral problems are never been born, inherited. जन्म से हमें नहीं मिलता है ये. मैक्सिमम इमोशनल और बिहेवियरल जो प्रॉब्लम इंसान को होती है वो जन्मजात होती है. जन्मजात नहीं होती है बल्कि समाज से अर्जित करते हैं हम उसको, समाज से प्राप्त करते हैं उसको. ये एक कॉग्निटिव बिहेवियर थेरेपी का एक कंसेप्ट है कि all the emotional behavioral problems are acquired or the learned. Therefore, the goal of therapy is to help client unlearn their unwanted reactions and to learn a new way of reaction. All these emotional behavioral problems are learned, acquired, so the therapist help the client to unlearn the unwanted reaction. हम किसी बात पे unwanted reaction दे देते हैं ना. The therapist help you, counselor help you to control, to give the unwanted reactions and try to learn a new way of reaction. CBT has been effective for various areas. Number one, it's very effective for self and personal growth. CBT, cognitive and behavior both. So this is most effective for your cognitive and behavioral growth. Secondly, it is most effective, most useful for individual, client, or both. It can be an individual counseling, or it can be a group counseling, or it can be family counseling. It will be useful for individual as well as group. This is another effectiveness of this group behavior therapy. The next one is marriage or family relationship. It is one of the wonderful therapy for these marriage and the family relationship. The next is workplace problems. Workplace problems can be rooted out, can be solved with the help of a cognitive behavior therapy very easily. The next is effectiveness or area of implementation of cognitive behavior therapy, child or adolescent behavioral disorders. Behavioral disorder, बच्चे को चोरी की आदत पड़ गई है. This is a child behavioral disorders, right? Adolescents को smoking की आदत पड़ गई है, right? So this is very useful for child and adolescent behavioral problem to control. The next, eating disorders, addictions, and impulse control disorders. जो अपनी impulse control नहीं कर पाता उसके लिए this is also effective one. Eating disorders, it is also effective one. Addictions is also effective one. And further, it is also very effective for anger management. आदमी कहता है मुझे गुस्सा बहुत आता है, right? छोटी छोटी बात पे गुस्सा हो जाता है. Ask him to go for client. This is cognitive behavior therapy. Then adjustment to chronic health problem. Adjustment to chronic health problem. एक आदमी को कैंसर है फॉर एग्जाम्पल, क्रॉनिक है ये, राइट? और वो डे बाय डे सोच सोच के मरता जा रहा है. जितना कैंसर से नहीं मर रहा जितनी उसकी अपने आप को हिम्मत हारने से मर रहा है, राइट? सो वहां पे ये कॉग्निटिव बिहेवियर थेरेपी इतना हेल्प करता है उसके फीलिंग को रिवाइव करने के लिए एडजस्टमेंट करने के लिए कि तो रूटीन है यार, जब तेरी लिखी तब आएगी, जब पहले क्यों अपने सोच सोच के मर रहा है, राइट? अपनी जिंदगी शुरू कर, जो मरना ही है, राइट? दिस cognitive behavior therapy help in adjustment to chronic health problems also. फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटी में भी ये बहुत हेल्प करता है. फिजिकल डिसेबिलिटी, फॉर एग्जांपल, वन पर्सन डोंट हैविंग टू बोथ आईज, वन आई, राइट? और वन पर्सन इज ब्लाइंड, डिसेबिलिटी है, the people tease him, then cognitive behavior therapist will help him how to cope up all these social problems, right? And then all the mental disorders can be treated, can be solved, can be rooted with the help of cognitive behavior therapy. And finally, this is very much effective for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Learning and social learning and operant model. Social learning. This is another model of counseling, social learning. Because this already I told you that maladaptive behavior is learned, acquired. So all the activities, all the behavior, whether it is right or wrong, is to be learned through society or societal interaction, right? So social learning theory, Bandura emphasizes, Bandura is the name of person who was given the social learning theory in psychology, emphasizes the immediate social reinforcing consequences when attempting behavioral change. Social reinforcing consequences. A person is alcoholic, उसने शराब छोड़ दी, but society is not accepting him. He is a label, शराबी बोलते उसको सारे, उसका लेबल लग गया, शराब छोड़ दी है, छोड़ने के बाद भी शराबी बोल रहे उसको, right? There is a social learning to be changed there. That means social reinforcing consequences should be there. He should not be called as शराबी, छोड़ चुका है, but still people are saying शराबी. जब वो कंपेल हो जाते, जब पीता तब भी शराबी, अब छोड़ दी तब भी शराबी, तो बेटर पीता ही रहो, शराबी तो बोलेंगे लोग, क्या होता, right? So in that situations, the social learning consequences are to be reinforced so that the client get motivation to rehabilitate within society as an intact social human being. The next is integrated approach to counseling. Integrated, many psychotherapies, counseling are to be integrated together, right? So then, like you take the example of corona का ट्रीटमेंट चल रहा है, पता नहीं कभी कोई इंजेक्शन लगा के देखते हैं, कभी वो उसकी जो टीबी की दवाई देते हैं, कभी उसको, राइट, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस की, मेनी ट्रायल्स आर गोइंग ऑन, इंटीग्रेट कर रहे हैं सबको कि कौन सा कामयाब होगा, राइट? सो इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच यूजुअली वी अप्लाई, एंड देन फाइनली वी फाइंड आउट that which one is the more effective, and we go for that only, right? So then eclectic practice consists of picking of techniques from various approaches for one reason. Eclectic, collective approach हम अप्लाई करेंगे, उनमें से कोई एक हम सिलेक्ट करेंगे जो सबसे बेटर हो, right? So now family therapy, it is all about your counseling. Now I'm telling you about family therapy is a broad term, given to a range of methods for working with families with various biopsychosocial difficulties. Within the families, we have numerous biopsychosocial problems going on. Within the broad cathedral of family therapy, there is a wide varieties of views on what type of problems are appropriately addressed by family therapy. Biopsychosocial problems are existing in family. Now there is a controversy going on within the family therapy expert that which one is the appropriate problem is to be handled, is to be tackled, is to be treated with the help of the family therapy, right? Would define these problems. What constitute the family therapy practices? What type of theoretical rationale in your family therapy? That means what constitute family therapy practices? फैमिली थेरेपी की प्रैक्टिस जब करेंगे तो उसके अंदर क्या क्या होना चाहिए? What type of theoretical rationale are there in the practice? Theoretical explanation, दो होते हैं explanation, theoretical होता है और एक practical होता है. Theoretical means you go by verbal explanation only. Practically you do by hand, you do by doing. You are facing a problem. Now we are teaching, you are learning a theoretical approach in your counseling. When you start independent practice, then you find the practical difficulties in counseling. So this is a theoretical difficulty you are learning, and when you start to practice, then you find it practical difficulties. So what psychotherapy is having a theoretical explanation about this family psychotherapy. Some family therapists said that all human practices, all human problems are essentially relational, and so family therapy is appropriate in all instances. That means some of these psychotherapists, family therapists are saying all family problems are relational, related to one another, right? So the family therapy is appropriate to all instances. What type of the problem a family is having, therapy can be applicable to all. This is the one group of family therapy experts who are favoring that all the family problems are relational, related to each other. Then family therapy is applicable to all types of the family problems. On the other hand, some other are discussing that marital family therapy are appropriate for specific relationship problem or as an adjustment to pharmacological treatment of particular conditions such as schizophrenia. Now you take marital and family therapy. If there is a marital dispute, obviously family therapy will be one of the best effective one. But when it is schizophrenia, it will not be effective family therapy for schizophrenia. We need psychotherapy. We need CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, right? Some family therapists further saying all human problems are essentially they're related to each other, right? So some family therapists argued that with respect to practice, invite all family members to all therapy sessions. This is a family therapy. All family members are to be invited into therapeutic sessions. But some family therapists are focusing that within the family a problem is generated by one person and whole family is affected. For example, alcoholic आदमी ने शराब पीनी शुरू करा, तो some of the family therapists are in favor of first call only alcoholic, take the information from him, and further you involve the other family members. Some of the family therapists are in a practice to call complete family in one first time in one go. So other different methods of practices are adopted by the people when they are doing their practice. So by empowering them to manage their relationship with family members in more satisfactory way. Why they are called together? Because all they are to be empowered. All they are to be empowered to manage their family relationship so that they are to be called together in one go, not one by one. This is the concepts of people, family therapists, who are calling all the family members first time for counseling all together, right? Then so another people who invite only alcoholic first and the other family members, or the other family therapists invite one person only who is the main responsible root of the problem. They invite first him or her only. That means that there are certain reliable information is available, and certain societal barriers are there that individual may not be in a position to explain his problem in front of the family members. That is the example of shyness. That is the example of fear of parental rejection. So he or she will restrict to explain completely in front of family members. So they are in favor that call the first person which have the root of the problem so that he or she can independently explain the problem there, right? And then call other family members only. So these are the two different approach we have. The people are applying for a systematic treatment. There are many theories of family therapy. Some focus on the role of family in predisposing people to developing problems or in precipitating their difficulties. The other focus on the role of the family in problem maintenance but all of the family members highlight the role of the family in problem resolution, right? Some family therapists focus on the role of the family in problem maintenance. Problem maintenance. This is the big problem. प्रॉब्लम को खत्म नहीं करना, उसको मेंटेन रखना है. डेली यू डिस्कस, डेली यू आर्ग्यू, डेली यू फाइट, यू मेंटेन द प्रॉब्लम. दैट इज ए प्रॉब्लम मेंटेनेंस. बट ऑल फैमिली मेंबर्स, थेरेपिस्ट or all the family members, they usually highlight the role of the family in problem solution, that the complete family is responsible for the solution. There is also a considerable variability in the degree to which therapies privilege the role of family pattern of interaction, family belief system, and narratives, and historically contextual and constitutional factor in the etiology and maintenance of problem. There are various factors work for the causes and maintenance of the problem within the family members. It can be rooted through the group of family member in one go, or it can be go other way, call first affected person and then call all the family members. This is upon you as an expert, which way you are like to go for the practical implications of your family therapy. With respect to research, some family therapists argue that case studies or descriptive qualitative research provide adequate support for the efficacy of family therapy. Case studies, right, or a qualitative descriptive research. Qualitative means some family centers, some counseling centers collect the data from their client and then they do the research on that one. Or some counselors maintain the case studies of all the clients, and out of the total complete case studies 10, 20, 50, 100 जो भी हैं, उनके बेस पे अपना एक निष्कर्ष निकालते हैं कि आज समाज में क्या प्रॉब्लम चल रहा है. सपोज ए क्लाइंट इज हैविंग 50 केस स्टडीज फॉर एग्जांपल, 50 में से सबसे बड़ी मेन रूट कॉज ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम सबसे ज्यादा किस में है, दैट मींस maximum societal problem is focusing is generated through this problem only, right? On the other hand, some family therapists highlight the importance of quantitative results from controlled research trials supporting the degree to which family therapy is effective in treating specific problems. Quantitative results from controlled research. They do their research at their own level. They don't need any specific client. They do their random research. And on the basis of the random research, they conclude that which is one of the best way for the treatment for the client. Within the volume, an integrative developmental approach will be taken to family therapy. Integrative developmental approach. There दोनों को मिला के, integrated means mixture of various therapies are to be applicable in a developmental perspective, so that the family therapy can be more effective. So this family problem occurs across all stage of life cycle. It does not mean the family problems is to be generated by one person in a particular age. No, it can be generated by any age of people, any member in any age, right? So for example, a 6-year-old child whose parents cannot control him and who pushes his sister down the stairs. 6 साल का बच्चा है, उसके बिहेवियर को पेरेंट्स कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाते और अपनी बहन को वो स्टेयर से नीचे धक्का दे देता है. उसका बिहेवियर है ये, राइट? एरोगेंट है, शरारती है या जिद्दी है, और वो द पेरेंट्स अनेबल टू कंट्रोल द बिहेवियर, राइट? So the next problem I am explaining, a 13 years old girl who worries her parents because she will not eat and has lost much weight. This is another problem going on in society. 13 years old girl, right? Slim figure, right? Body weight ना बढ़ जाए, अभी obesity ना हो जाए, इसके डर के मारे पेरेंट्स कहते रहते खा लो खा लो खा लो, लेकिन कुछ नहीं खाते हैं, but they become anorexic. The next 19 years old boy who believe that he is poisoned and refuses to take prescribed antipsychotic medicine. A 19 years old boy who was adamant to take engineering. Parents don't advise him to take engineer. A 19 years old boy who is adamant to take medical. Parents are refusing not to take medical, but he or she don't want to accept the parental advice. So this is another problem in society. Multiple problems are going on in our family setup. A balanced family in which parents have both previously been married and who have difficulties managing their children. Children management is a big problem in nowadays. A family in which a child is terminally ill and will not follow medical advice. एक परिवार में एक बच्चा बार बार बीमार होता है और वो मेडिकल एडवाइस को फॉलो नहीं करता, माँ बाप दुखी हो जाते उससे, राइट. दिस इज अनदर प्रॉब्लम विद इन द फैमिली. ए फैमिली, सपोज एक बच्चे को चश्मा लगना है, बच्चे पेरेंट्स कहते बेटा टीवी ना देखो, बट बच्चा नहीं मानता है, राइट. टर्मिनली इल, बार बार आंखों में प्रॉब्लम होती है, टर्मिनली अगेन एंड अगेन, but he don't want to follow the medical or the parental advice. A family with traditional values in which the teenagers come out, right? Come out, that means go out, don't obey their parents, what time to go, what time not to go out, right? So a family with traditional values in which a teenagers comes out and killed their colleague and their friends and whatever, right? So a poor family whose 18 years old boy is involved in drug abuse in a delinquent peer group. हाँ जी मैडम, मैं ऑनलाइन में क्लास में था, कहीं बताओ, हुक्म बताओ. हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हेलो.
डॉक्टर साहब माइक अनम्यूट कर लें.
लिया. मेरी एक बहुत अर्जेंट कॉल आ रही है, मेरी बहुत अर्जेंट कॉल आ रही है.
ओके ओके.
आई एम टू क्विट.
यस सर, क्योंकि टाइम भी हो गया नेक्स्ट क्लास से.
ओके, एक फोटो खींच लेते हो क्या अटेंडेंस का?
हाँ, मैं ले ली.
ओके, थैंक यू.
थैंक यू लर्नर्स, क्योंकि अब अगली कक्षा का भी समय हो गया है, तो आज के लिए इतना ही. कल फिर मिलेंगे इसी समय पर. थैंक यू.
थैंक यू.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू. अगर किसी की कोई समस्या है तो वो अपने समस्या से अवगत करा सकता है.
सर ये जो क्लासेस चल रहे हैं, दीज आर इंडक्शन क्लासेस या नॉर्मल वैसे जो क्लासेस होते हैं कॉन्टैक्ट क्लासेस है
ये कॉन्टैक्ट क्लासेस है.
ओके सर.
ठीक है जी, थैंक यू.
Thank you, sir.